Hi, it's Russ from Pro Tools Expert, and I've got myself a copy of the Shadow Hills mastering compressor from Universal Audio, part of their new software update. This was announced at AES a few days ago, and I wanted to give you a show and tell and let you have a first look at it, overview, that kind of stuff. The first thing I will say is if you get hold of the manual and have a look through it, it's quite fun actually. It's just for authorized personnel only, and when I first started reading it, I thought, oh, they've dropped a bit of a boo-boo here, and somebody sent out a copy of the manual that hasn't actually been which was actually made for internal purposes. But as you go further on through the manual, you suddenly realise that actually they're having a bit of fun. And if you get to the end of it on page 7, you get to evading enemy capture, and how they tell you how to destroy this unit should you get captured. So a bit of fun there, and that's nice and cool. And what I will say straight away is, in my initial first usage of this unit, I've never used the hardware one, so I have no experience of it, so I can't tell you whether it's like the hardware one or not. But what I will say is that it's incredibly musical. It sounds, when I say musical, often compression will always create some kind of artifact. And in terms of mastering in particular, what you're trying to achieve is often is not compression that has a sound, but compression that does a job. In other words, you're trying to treat the dynamic and the transients within the sound without really people noticing it. A bit like grading a movie, where people see the movie but they don't really think, oh, that's a nice grade on that movie. And so it does have a very good musical sound. It's very transparent, and it has 3 different options: nickel, iron, and steel, and we'll look at those in a while. So what we have basically, we have 2 compressors basically, an optical compressor and then a discrete compressor, and they work very differently. So the first one is doing optical attenuation and has a fixed 2-to-1 ratio, and so there's no ratio control, and you use the threshold and the output gain to vary it. Then you have the discrete one, which has attack, recovery, threshold, and a ratio from 1.2 right through to flood, which is in a sense sort of brick wall limiter. And then you have gain as well, makeup gain. Then you have a sidechain filter, and that sidechain filter allows you to switch that in such a way as that anything below 90 hertz doesn't affect the compression on the compressor. And that's important actually, because on something bassy, anything below 90 hertz can actually create some pumping effect, and I'm just going to show you that in a while and show you what I mean by that. So what we're going to do is go through it. And so what we have is either a dual mono compressor, that's 2 compressors working independently, or a stereo linked compressor. And as I say, we then have an optical and a discrete compressor as well, and some lovely meters on there as well. And we'll just have a look at it now and go through it. So you have 3 positions here. You have nickel, iron, and steel, and they all have varying and that's based upon transformers. So a nickel transformer, an iron transformer, and a steel transformer. And the top one is the cleanest one that they have in the unit. So if you have that on, it's going to give you the least distortion. It's going to give you subtle attenuation and really nice top end. And then you have the iron one, which is a Class A amplifier model. So it's going to give you even ordered harmonics. Try saying that when you've been drinking. With distortion, and it's going to give you a very nice low frequency boost as well. And then steel is kind of the one that's going to give you a really tight boost in the bottom end, and it's going to have the most distortion within it. And when we say distortion, I don't mean like a distortion pedal. It's just going to give you the most harmonic distortion. So there's the 3 settings, and we can use all of this stuff independently. So we can have the optical in or out, and we can have the discrete in or out, and we can also at the same time have the sidechain filters in or out as well. And then, as I say, we can either work this in mono, which at the moment it's in stereo, so we went to dual mono. Either use the switch, and then you can see now I'm using that, and I can have those working separately. So I'm going to use it in stereo. I've got a piece of material which I think would be nice to throw at it. It's a track I was mixing a few months ago, and normally I'd throw things like ozone and stuff across the end of it. So a couple of things to say. I'm not a mastering engineer. So this in the hands of a really cool mastering engineer is going to make a heck of a difference. What's very helpful straight away is there's some really cool presets. And what I find with UA, things like the DBX160 and a lot of the stuff they ship, is the presets are actually very useful and normally do what they say on the tin. So it's worth you checking out the presets there. And there's a whole set of them there. So that might be a good starting point if you're not really used to this kind of stuff. But I'm imagining that the most of the people that are going to get their hands on this are people who are either mastering engineers, because you could use this in a VST. I'm using it in Pro Tools here on a track. Or you could use it, as I say, in Pro Tools as an RTAS or an audio suite as well. Now, the final thing to mention here is this green glowy thing that looks like I've got a radar. This is the glowing Magic Eye tube. And when both these guys are in output, then this displays the mono signal in the top of the quadrant there, and you'll see that when we start using it. So the other cool thing is that when you're in stereo mode, these meters can be used in separate ways, so we can see what the optical's doing, and in this one we can see the output. So we've got very good visualization of what's going on as across the whole unit. And so I've got this piece of a track. Let me play it you. So first thing, the other good thing as well is we have a hardware bypass, as they call it, hardwired through. So that means that's effectively like a bypass switch, but it means that anything that goes through the unit then is totally clean. So let's take it out first. And let's put something in. So as you can see, now I've got this in stereo mode. Just that for a moment. Now I've got this in stereo mode, you can see that I've got one telling me what's going on at the optical side. I could go to discrete as well. And I've got the other one telling me what's going on at the output. I could have the discrete there and I could have the optical there. So let's take the discrete out for a second and just use the optical, which is, as I say, a fixed 2-to-1 ratio. Now, they suggest that when it's at about 7, that it should be unity gain, basically. And that sounds about right to me. And then we can push the threshold up to get more compression. See now, that's really, or here should I say, you can see now, or so you can hear now that that's really starting to give a nice warm bottom end. So then let's put the discrete in as well, and I'm going to pull this back a bit actually, and then put the discrete in as well. Have the ratio. So when it's at flood, it's brick wall limiting basically, I would suspect, and then it means that then you're using the threshold just to smooth that end out. So what we could do actually turn the optical off instead. And with the fast recovery time and quite a long attack, you can get some nice leveling going on there. I do like the nickel one. I really love the top end of the nickel one. For a second, I'm just going to put these acoustics on to show you. Now, you probably weren't here on a YouTube video, so if you're a UAD user, you could download the 14-day demo and listen for yourself. But if I put the track back in, I'm going to take the sidechain out for a sec just to show you this in action, because this really does make a difference. So what I'm going to do is turn the guitars off as well. Now, I'll be honest, you wouldn't really normally anyway set it like that unless you wanted to really be pumping. But you can hear there, everything below 90 is not driving the compressor. Let's show you a few presets now. So we could go to mastering discrete steel, which of course is the more distorted of all three of them. That's loud. Hard knee compression. Let's try a few of these presets on actual items within the track. So let's come up to this vocal and let's just pull it up for a second, and I'm just going to go into my just bring this up and we'll try it on this vocal here. So we'll put this into solo.
It's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks, lost in time. And it's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks, lost in time. And
I'm also going to just take out a few things here as well. So I've got the grand channel in there, so I'm going to just mute that out because we will be sort of over compressing. We don't want to hear two compressors in there. And in there as well I've got kill EQ, so I'm just going to kill that as well.
it's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years,
Let's push that up a bit more.
lost in time. And it's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks, lost in time. And it's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks, lost in time. And it's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks.
The top end on that nickel one is really sweet.
It's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks, lost in time. And it's a story, it's not mine, this little life I'm finding. Feels like days, years, weeks.
Really giving some body to that vocal there. Let's go to bass guitar down here somewhere, and we'll just kill everything else that's on it for now. In fact, that's expand playing actually, which is interesting. And I think I've got a DBX 160 in it, so I'm just going to push the Shadow Hills into this one now. And we'll choose bass guitar, which is in here somewhere. Bass finger, there we go. Some really lovely bottom end on there now. Put the filter in. Give some real body and some real clout. So as you can see, it's useful not only just for stereo material for mastering, but of course you can use it in other applications within your music production as well. Well, what do I think in my first outing with it? As I said, I've not had it long. I've had it a matter of hours and a quick dive into the manual just to kind of get across it as quickly as possible, so I could bring this to the channel and let you all know what I think of it. I think it's incredibly. The sound of it is awesome. It really is. It's got a really great gutsy sound, and at the same time, it's got a real musicality to it as well. And often when you use compressors, they don't feel that you either feel they're not doing enough or you feel they're doing too much, and it's really hard to find that situation where it's almost transparent, but at the same time doing something really, really great with the sound. So I have to say, it's a big thumbs up from me. If you're looking for a mastering compressor, and you've checked out the usual suspects but can't get on with them, and you're a UAD user, then I would suggest that you give this a real look at and a real serious consideration. It gets a real thumbs up from me. I think it's a beautiful piece of kit. I think it's a beautiful piece of modelling. It really is played to the strength of Universal Audio, which is when it comes to UAD, they don't make instruments, they just make fantastic modelled analog gear. And I have to say that this is one of them. And so if you're out there looking for a really cool compressor, then this may be the one to look at, and actually maybe the one that you buy, because it really does sound fantastic. So there we go. Big thumbs up from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.